The gala at the Metropolitan Museum of Art was the last place Ethan Hayes wanted to be. As the 35-year-old tech mogul surveyed the glittering crowd through tired eyes, he suppressed a yawn. Another evening of shallow conversations, people, interested only in his fortune and not the man behind it. "Mr. Hayes, what a pleasure to finally meet you." An eager museum board member approached, hand extended. "Your donation to our digital arts initiative is revolutionary." Ethan mustered his practiced smile. 7 years since founding Hayes Tech had taught him how to perform. "Happy to support innovation in any form," he replied smoothly, already scanning for the nearest exit. That's when he saw her. Across the room, laughing with a small group, stood Olivia Bennett, the woman who'd walked away from him 10 years ago when he was just a broke college dropout with wild dreams. The woman whose memory had haunted him through every success. Time seemed to slow. Olivia's dark curls cascaded down her back, her emerald dress catching the light as she gestured animatedly. She was even more beautiful than he remembered. "Excuse me," Ethan muttered to the confused board member, his feet carrying him forward before his brain could catch up. She turned just as he approached, her laughter fading as recognition dawned in her eyes. "Ethan? Ethan Hayes?" Her voice, that same melodic voice that had once whispered promises under starlit skies, now carried disbelief. "Liv," he said simply, the old nickname slipping out effortlessly. "It's been a while. 10 years, 3 months, and—" She caught herself and smiled. "A long time." The electricity between them was instant, years melting away in seconds. Her eyes sparkled with the same warmth he remembered, but something was different, more confident, more settled. "You look," he began, "like I haven't aged a day?" She teased, breaking the tension. Ethan laughed genuinely for the first time that evening. "I was going to say happy. You look happy." A shadow crossed her features. "I am. I've been—" "Sweetheart, sorry I'm late." A tall man with salt and pepper hair slid his arm around Olivia's waist. The hospital emergency stretched longer than expected. Ethan's stomach dropped as the man extended his other hand. "Dr. Marcus Wilson, and you are—" "This is Ethan Hayes," Olivia interjected quickly. "An old friend from college." "Hayes? The Hayes Tech founder?" Marcus looked impressed. "My wife never mentioned she knew you." "Wife." The word hit Ethan like a physical blow. "It was a lifetime ago," Olivia said softly, her eyes never leaving Ethan's face. The conversation that followed was a blur. Marcus speaking about his work as a pediatric surgeon. Olivia mentioning her non-profit for arts education in underserved communities. Ethan responding on autopilot while his mind raced with questions and regrets. "We should get together while you're in town," Marcus said warmly. "Any friend of Olivia's is a friend of mine." "Actually, I live here now," Olivia explained. "We moved. Back from Chicago last month. Marcus is heading the new pediatric center at Memorial." "How convenient," Ethan managed, trying to ignore the way his heart hammered against his ribs. The woman he'd never gotten over was now living in his city. Married. Unavailable. As they exchanged contacts, Olivia's fingers brushed his, sending a familiar jolt through his system. Their eyes met briefly, and he saw it. The flicker of what might have been. "Until next time, then," Ethan said finally, nodding to them both before retreating to the sanctuary of the balcony. Outside in the cool night air, he loosened his tie and gazed at the city skyline. He had everything he'd ever worked for. Wealth, success, respect. Everything except the one person he'd wanted to share it all with. His phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. "Some things never change. You still escape to high places when overwhelmed. Look up." Ethan raised his eyes to the opposite balcony. Olivia stood alone, phone in hand, offering a small smile that carried a decade of unspoken words. The game had changed, but perhaps the story wasn't over yet. 3 days after the gala, Ethan found himself sitting across from Olivia at a quaint cafe tucked away in Greenwich Village. The invitation to meet, just the two of them, had arrived unexpectedly, sending his normally disciplined mind into chaos. "Still take your coffee black with 1 sugar?" Olivia asked, sliding a mug toward him. Ethan's eyebrows rose. "You remember that?" "I remember everything," she replied softly, then quickly added, "Marcus takes his with ridiculous amounts of cream. I can never get it right." The mention of her husband settled like a weight between them. "How is the good doctor today?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his tone light. "Saving lives while we mere mortals drink coffee?" Olivia studied him over her cup. "He's in surgery until this evening, and you're hardly a mere mortal these days, Mr. Fortune 500. Money doesn't make you immortal, Liv, just targets you. For better lawsuits." His joke earned a genuine laugh that made his heart skip. She set down her cup. "You did it, Ethan. Everything you said you would. I saw your TED Talk last year about sustainable tech. You were brilliant. You watched." "That?" "I followed your career." Her admission hung in the air between them. "Even from Chicago." Ethan leaned forward. "Why did you want to meet Olivia? Nostalgia? Curiosity? Setting old ghosts to rest?" Her eyes met his, vulnerable yet determined. "I'm heading the new community arts program at the Watson Center. We need a tech partner for the digital learning platforms. Your company would be perfect." "So this is a business meeting?" The disappointment in his voice was unmistakable. "No," she said quickly. "Yes, I don't know." She ran a hand through her curls, a nervous habit she'd never outgrown. "I wanted to see you, but I'm also married, Ethan." "Happily." The question escaped before he could stop it. Her hesitation was brief but telling. "Marcus is a good man. He's been there for me through some really difficult times. That's not what I asked." The tension between them crackled like static electricity. Before she could answer, Ethan's assistant Riley appeared at their table looking apologetic. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's an emergency at the office. The Singapore investors are threatening to pull out." Ethan nodded, pulling himself back to reality. "I'll be right there." As Riley stepped away, he turned back to Olivia. "Duty calls." "I understand." She slid a folder across the table. "The proposal for the arts program. Think about it. As a business venture, of course." As they stood to leave, thunder rumbled overhead, and rain began to fall in sheets. Ethan instinctively removed his jacket, holding it over her as they rushed to the door. "My car's just around the corner," he said. "Let me give you a ride." The universe seemed determined to push them together as they ran through the downpour, arriving at his Tesla drenched despite his efforts. "Some things never change," Olivia laughed, wringing water from her hair. "Remember that concert in the park when the sky opened up and we hid under that tiny gazebo for hours?" Ethan finished, the memory vivid between them. "Best? First date I ever had." The atmosphere in the car shifted, charged with unspoken feelings and shared history. "I should get you home," Ethan said finally, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Actually, I need to go to the Watson Center. We're preparing for tomorrow's donor presentation." She entered the address into the car's navigation system, her fingers brushing against the screen where his had just been. As they drove in comfortable silence, Olivia's phone rang. The car's Bluetooth system automatically picked up the call. "Hey, babe." Marcus's voice filled the space. "Just wanted to let you know I'll be late tonight. Again, the Carlson boy had complications." "No problem," Olivia replied, her eyes darting to Ethan. "Take care of your patient." "Always do. Love you." "You too," she responded, noticeably, avoiding the actual words. When the call ended, the silence returned, heavier this time. "He sounds dedicated," Ethan offered. "He is, to his work, his patients." Olivia trailed off, staring out at the rain-slicked streets. But, Ethan prompted gently. She turned to him, vulnerability etched across her features. Have you ever built something so perfect on paper, but deep down you know something essential is missing? Before he could answer, they arrived at the Watson Center, an impressive restored building with columns framing the entrance. This is me, she said, gathering her things. Thank you for the ride. Impulsively, Ethan caught her hand. Have dinner with me, to discuss the proposal. Ethan, strictly professional, bring Marcus if you want. Her eyes searched his. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, and I think it's better if Marcus doesn't join us. As she disappeared into the building, Ethan sat in his car, the proposal folder on the passenger seat where she had been. Opening it, he found not only the business documents, but a faded photograph tucked inside, the two of them at that rainy concert a lifetime ago, young and in love. On the back, in Olivia's elegant handwriting, some memories refuse to stay in the past. The Watson Center's donor presentation was in full swing when Ethan arrived, fashionably late and carrying a small wrapped package. The auditorium buzzed with New York's elite as Olivia commanded the stage, passionately describing the center's vision for bringing arts education to underprivileged communities. Art saved my life when I was a foster kid in Brooklyn, she revealed to the captivated audience. Every child deserves that chance at self-expression. Ethan stopped in his tracks. Foster kid? In all their time together, Olivia had only mentioned growing up with her aunt, never the full story. 10 years apart, and there was still so much he didn't know about the woman he couldn't forget. As she concluded to enthusiastic applause, their eyes met across the room. Olivia's professional smile softened into something more genuine, just for him. Mr. Hayes, the center's director intercepted him. We're honored you could join us. Your potential partnership would be transformative. I believe in Olivia's vision, Ethan replied simply, his gaze following her as she navigated through admirers. When she finally reached him, she looked both exhausted and exhilarated. You came to the presentation. I wanted to see you in your element. He handed her the package. Open it later. Before she could respond, Marcus appeared beside them, placing a proprietary hand on Olivia's shoulder. Hayes, Liv told me you two reconnected. Thanks for considering the tech partnership. Ethan extended his hand, studying the man who had claimed the life that could have been his. Up close, he noticed the shadows under Marcus's eyes, the strain in his smile. Your wife is remarkable, Ethan said sincerely. She is, Marcus agreed, his expression softening as he looked at Olivia. Though sometimes I wonder if I appreciate that enough. An awkward silence fell until Olivia's assistant called her away for a donor photo opportunity. Left alone, the two men regarded each other with newfound curiosity. Can I buy you a drink, Dr. Wilson? Ethan suggested impulsively. 20 minutes later, they sat at the center's bar, an unlikely pair, sharing expensive scotch. So, Marcus swirled his glass. You and Olivia were college sweethearts? Until I dropped out to build Hayes Tech. She wanted stability, a future I couldn't promise back then. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. And now you have an empire. And you have Olivia, Ethan countered quietly. The doctor's laugh held no humor. Do I? He drained his glass. You know what's ironic? I save children every day, but I can't seem to save my own marriage. Ethan's heart raced. What are you saying? Olivia and I... Marcus hesitated, then continued with medical precision. We care deeply for each other, but we're separating. Have been for months. The move to New York was our last attempt to start fresh. Ethan struggled to process this revelation. Does she know you're telling me this? She deserves happiness, Marcus said instead of answering. I've watched her follow your career for years, keeping that old concert photo on her desk. I'm not blind, Hayes. Before Ethan could respond, His phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. "Where did you disappear to? And what's in this package? You're making me wait to open?" "Go," Marcus said, signaling for another drink. "Just promise me one thing. Don't waste 10 more years." Ethan found Olivia on the rooftop garden, the Manhattan skyline glittering behind her like stars brought down to earth. The wrapped package sat unopened on the bench beside her. "There you are," she smiled. "I was beginning to think you'd vanished. Again." "Not this time," he promised, joining her on the bench. "Aren't you going to open it?" With deliberate care, she unwrapped the package to reveal a small digital picture frame. As she turned it on, images began to cycle, early designs for Hayes Tech, prototype sketches, news clippings of his success. "I don't understand," she said, watching the slideshow. "Keep watching." The images continued until suddenly they changed to something unexpected. Architectural renderings of an arts center, eerily similar to the Watson Center but on a larger scale. "What is this?" "The future," Ethan explained softly. "I've had these plans for 5 years, the Olivia Bennett Foundation for Arts Education, designed to be implemented in 50 cities across the country." Tears filled her eyes as she stared at the screen. "You named it after me? But why would you?" "Because even when we were apart, you were my inspiration." He took a deep breath. "I never built it because without you it felt meaningless." "Ethan, let me finish. When I left college to chase my dream, I made a mistake. I thought I had to choose between success and love. I've spent 10 years proving myself, building an empire, hoping someday you'd see I was worth the risk after all." "I always knew you would succeed," she whispered. "I just couldn't handle the uncertainty then. I was a foster kid who needed security above all else. And now?" His voice was barely audible. Olivia set the frame down carefully. "Marcus and I are separating. It's been over for a while, but we kept trying to make it work. He told me. Just now, downstairs." Her eyes widened. "He did?" "He said you deserve happiness." "And what do you think I deserve?" she challenged, moving closer. Ethan reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "A second chance. For both of us. I'm not the same girl you knew, Ethan. And I'm not the same reckless dreamer. But some things don't change." He touched her cheek gently. "Like the way I've loved you every day for the past 10 years. Under the New York sky, their lips met in a kiss that bridged time and circumstance, healing old wounds and promising new beginnings. 3 months later, at the groundbreaking ceremony for the first Olivia Bennett Foundation Center, Ethan and Olivia stood together, golden shovels in hand. From the audience, Marcus watched with a bittersweet smile the respected colleague who had gracefully stepped aside. "Are you ready?" Ethan asked, the question carrying meaning beyond the ceremony. Olivia's eyes sparkled with certainty as she leaned into him. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life." As they turned the first soil, photographers captured the moment, not just of 2 influential figures launching a philanthropic venture, but of 2 people who had found their way back to each other against all odds. Sometimes the greatest fortune isn't measured in bank accounts or business empires, but in the courage to reclaim lost love when fate offers a second chance.